you asked me about the differences between porn world and real world sex. So first of all, I should say, go to makelovenotporn.com, because every one of those porn world versus real world scenarios happen to me. But I suppose, first of all, I should really emphasize that obviously porn, broadly speaking, is like any other form of entertainment. It's artificial. It's performative. Now, people will tend to say things like, oh, for God's sake, of course everybody knows that porn is fantasy, it's not real. But actually, no, people don't. Because, the same people say that will say things like, oh, thinking you can learn about sex and porn is like thinking you can learn about driving from the Fast and the Furious. Well, here's the difference. From the moment we're conscious, pretty much, we learn about driving. As children, we are strapped into the back of the car. We drive in cars with our parents. We learn that you have to learn to drive. We learn the rules of the road. We are taught to look both ways when we cross. We learn about the dangers of traffic. We take driving lessons. We know we cannot drive till we get our license. And when we get our license, we know there are rules of the road that we have to follow. We talk about driving every single day. We don't talk about sex. That's the difference. And so, in the absence of open, healthy, honest conversations about sex, obviously people rush to porn, and equally obviously porn is incredibly easy to access anywhere online, and it's very easy to access accidentally. The average age at which a child is first exposed to hardcore porn online today is 8. There are some very fundamental things that are different between porn and real-world sex that are unfortunately actually being adopted in the real world that are more ingrained and insidious than people realize. So, for example, because the vast majority of mainstream porn is made by men for men, the entire raison d'etre, the be-all and end-all of every single mainstream porn scene is to get the man off. As a result, we now have an entire generation of young men and women growing up believing that the entire raison d'etre, the be-all and end-all of sex, is to get the man off. I'm 54, and I'm old enough to remember back in the day when it was enormously important to the men I slept with that I came. That I came first, that I came at least once, if not several times. If I did not come, the entire sex session was a failure. Nobody was going anywhere till I came. I remember those days very fondly, because these days I don't come and it's not even remarked upon. And by the way, I'm very selective about whom I date, and I only date utterly lovely younger men, and this is how they have unconsciously internalized what porn has taught them. I see them modeling the kind of body language in bed that says their dick is the center of the universe. And by the way, porn does men a huge disservice because it tells them that sex is entirely dick-centric. That it's all about how big it is, how hard it is, how long you can keep it up. And great sex is about everything. And importantly, more than anything else, great sex is about great communication. I said earlier that Make Love Not Porn is a complete accident, but what is no accident is that I have spent 30 years working in advertising, 30 years working in the business of communication. Everything great in life and business is born out of great communication, and sex is no different. And so, the real danger that people fall into is that they look at porn and think that being good in bed involves a formula. It involves moves. The same thing works every time. Every partner you will ever have is different. Everybody is different. And so the difference between porn and sex is that, just as when you watch a Hollywood blockbuster, you know that you can't do one of those car chases without killing yourself in the first 3 seconds. You can't escape over rooftops that way. Equally in porn, one set of moves does not work on everybody, and boy oh boy, do they ever not work for women. And so, at its heart, the real difference is that, porn sex is not meant to be real sex. Porn sex can be very useful. In its abstract, porn is a very useful tool for helping us explore our own sexuality, finding out what we like and don't like, finding out what turns us on, finding there are other people like us. But it is not intended to be a reflection of the real world, and it shouldn't be. And that's why Make Love Not Porn is doing something completely different. We're not porn, we're not amateur, we're creating a whole new category. We're not going up against porn. Our competition is Facebook and YouTube, or it would be if Facebook and YouTube allowed sexual self-expression. Because what is missing from the world today, which is why people are confused about porn, is the same normalized open sharing of the sex goes on in the real world in the way that we share everything else. When I talk about make love not porn, I ask people to think about all of those celebrations of relationships that crop up in your Facebook timeline every day. Those engagement announcements, wedding photos, lovey-dovey coupley things. All we're doing is we're providing a platform to celebrate that last era of human relationships nobody else will let you, but the motivations and the social dynamics are exactly the same. So on Facebook, you might see from your friends, in your feed, for example, we're madly in love. And so here we are on a romantic weekend in Paris. Here we are kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower, strolling hand in hand by the Seine, eating in a French bistro, and on Make Love Not Porn it's we're madly in love. And here's the amazing sex we had in the hotel room in Paris on that same weekend. Same difference. Nobody allows that, and nobody talks about it, and that's why we have a society that's utterly skewed into thinking that porn sex is real sex, and what we need is simply an opportunity to share the sex we all have in the real world, which, by the way, is more innovative, more amazing, more surprising, more creative, more arousing than porn will ever be.